Hello and welcome to the Haaretz podcast. I'm Allison Kaplan-Summer in Tel Aviv. Thousands of protesters took to the streets of Tel Aviv last Saturday night. Such mass demonstrations have not been an unusual sight over the past 3 years. During this time, the Tel Aviv streets have seen protests over war, over the hostages, over the deterioration of democracy in Israel. But this time, the focus was on a different life and death issue. As Haaretz correspondent Jack Corey wrote, the message of the protests and others that have taken place in Arab cities across the country was this: Arab citizens of Israel are no longer willing to accept a reality of lawlessness, violence, exclusion, and the continued erosion of their rights. This was not a fringe demonstration nor the protest of a single political camp. It was the protest of an entire public. With the focus on Israel's conflicts in Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Iran, and the continued settler violence and oppression in the West Bank, the issue of the extent to which crime and violence has made life unbearable for Arab citizens of Israel has not gotten much international attention. But it is a scourge, and one that does not only harm Arab citizens, it challenges the rule of law in the entire country and the safety of all Israelis. Joining me on the podcast to discuss this phenomenon is one of the most visible leaders of Israel's Arab community over the past decade, Aida Touma-Sliman, who has been a member of Knesset representing the Hadash party since 2015. Last November, after a decade of political life, Touma-Sliman announced that she would not be running in the next elections for Knesset, declaring that she can no longer serve in a place that, quote, embodies oppression, silencing, and Jewish supremacy. I'll talk with her about crime, about politics, and the future of Israel's Arab minority in our conversation coming up.
I'm Esther Solomon, Editor-in-Chief of Haaretz English. Around the world, the fight is on to preserve critical and independent media. Haaretz, Israel's oldest newspaper, upholds its long tradition of accurate, committed, and incisive journalism, refusing to bend its reporting to pressure from any government or leader. A digital subscription to Haaretz gives you up-to-the-minute news and analysis in English from journalists who live Israel's reality and are committed to covering the Middle East and its global repercussions. At the same time, your subscription supports the cause of a free press that holds the powerful to account in Israel and around the world. I invite you to become a subscriber to Haaretz now. Just go to Haaretz.com and use the code Haaretz10, that's Haaretz with the number 10, for 10% off an annual subscription.
אני אומר את זה בצורה ברורה בשם הציבור כולו שרוצה שאנחנו כאן במדינה הזאת נחיה בכבוד הדדי.
Member of Knesset, Aida Touma-Sliman, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
The mass demonstration on Saturday night is being proclaimed the largest Arab Jewish demonstration since 1948. Does this indicate to you that we're at some kind of turning point? Were you encouraged by the number of Arabs and Jews who turned out to demonstrate?
Let me start with this. I'm not sure it was the biggest since 1948. There was a huge also demonstration when the Jewish nation state law was also conducted in Tel Aviv, and there was huge numbers. But anyway, it was in decades one of the biggest demonstrations. I have to say it was amazing. It was powerful and it was very hopeful. The fact that Palestinian citizens of Israel came to Tel Aviv in order to make their voice and their pain heard very well, and the Jewish activists and organizations just solidaritated and marched with them, that give a hope that there is a possibility to create a different situation in this country.
Do you feel like the Jewish citizens of Israel are recognizing that this is not strictly a sectoral problem that is also damaging to their quality of life as well, and are really acting as allies and partners in this fight against the crime rate in the Arab communities?
Well, as you know, in Israel, you never can speak about one group of people as all of them understanding and knowing, neither Jews nor Arabs. But I think that more and more the Jewish population, first of all, is understanding that crime have no borders, as much as those who are sitting in the different ministries think that they can keep the crime only in the Arab and the villages and towns. It's not like this, and it can be extending to other places. Jewish citizens can be direct victims of this crime, but also indirect victims, because there is no way to guarantee security of one group in the country, knowing that the other group is suffering and is going through that kind of policy of neglect and absence of a state control inside the localities.
Aida, we have many listeners around the world who are perhaps familiar with what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in the West Bank, but really aren't familiar with the extent to which that crime and violence is making life unbearable inside the Green Line for Palestinian citizens of Israel. Homicides are at a record rate. In 2025, they reached an all-time high of 252. We're at the beginning of February 2026. There have already been 29 homicides. As we record, there have been 2 in the past 24 hours. Can you just discuss briefly what the situation is and what you think the reasons are for this high level of crime?
First of all, the situation usually is measured by the number of homicide, but it's way beyond also. The statistics about murder cases is horrifying. Just to remember that in 1 month, 29 people were killed. That's horrible when you remember also that it is 29 out of 2 million population. It's not in general in Israel. It's only among the 2 million in Israel, even less than 2 million. But also the organized crime, it is not usual what is called social violence. It is an organized groups of crime. They have a hierarchy inside them. They have a soldier, what is called soldiers. They are intervening in every aspect of life. They are threatening people, collect protection fees, enforcing people to get to what is called the loans, unofficial banking system they have that is collecting high interest from people who reach to a situation that they are, after selling everything they own, they cannot pay back the loans they had, and they will be shooted, or anybody of their family can be shooted. We are talking about groups of or organizations that have heavy weapons, including missiles and explosive materials that are used against population, civil citizens in their homes. Yesterday, I had a long talk with the constructing engineer of the local authority in one of the villages, who has been threatened by those groups because they want to have projects from the municipality, and he is not allowing that. So 7 times they shot at, they had fire on his house. His family is living under total terror, and he is accompanied always by security of the police. So this is not a life to be lived. This is the situation in our society. It's damaging the economic life, and it is getting to a situation where people are only fighting to survive and to live. I think this is not by chance happening. This is a policy conducted by this government. It looks like the crime groups as their subcontractor for destruction of our society and making us a terrorized individuals who are looking only how to live their life quietly and forget about all the other rights that should be. When you are struggling for the basic right to live, you forget all about the other political, economic, social rights.
The phenomenon predates by many years the stint of Itamar Ben-Gvir as the minister in charge of the police, the far-right, basically racist minister Itamar Ben-Gvir. So to what extent has it worsened under his watch? This policy that you speak of, does it precede him? Has it worsened with him? What's the dynamic there?
Of course, it has worsened. I mean, the situation deteriorated very fast. The feeling today is that even in the past, when we had 40% of the cases of murder solved by the police, today it's 10%. 10% of the cases are solved, meaning 90% of the murderers or who cooperated with the murderers are still free among us. This is a very bad message sent by the police to the murderers and to the criminals that you can do whatever you want and nobody will touch you as long as it is among the Arabs. I'm saying this very clearly. The cases of murder of Jews, 100% is solved. If there was one moment that Ben-Gvir would think that the weapons owned by those groups will be used against Jews, he will know exactly how to smash them down. But he is not willing to do it as long as they are only doing their crimes among the Arabs. He is enjoying the scene. The fact that he also changed many of the structure of the police, and he is pushing the police to be unprofessional and the decision to be made by political interest more than professional interest in general, not only in the case of the Palestinians or citizens of Israel, but in general. Add this to the fact that his political interest is for sure not to guarantee any security or care for the Arab citizens, then you can understand why this deterioration had happened so fastly.
Does Arab leadership bear any level of responsibility for how bad the situation has gotten? I presume you feel very limited and probably frustrated in your ability as a Palestinian Israeli member of Knesset to protect your own community. But I'm sure some of your community turns to the leaders and politicians and says that they should and could have done more.
Well, I know that the fear and the anger among our society might lead them to direct those feelings against the people that they see in them, the leaders. If they wouldn't have said that, we would have thought that they gave up on us, and they don't see in us as a leadership. Of course, sometimes you feel frustrated that you are not able to protect your own society, but your rule mainly, my rule, and other leaders' rule at this situation is to help the people to understand and to direct their anger to the real person or a system that is responsible and should be fighting the crime. We need to remember that for 2.5 years, this state was going through a war, and a whole mechanism of oppression was directed at our society in order to avoid any protest against the war or any other protest. Took them few months to recover and to gain back the trust they have in themselves of going out to the street. I think it's our responsibility now to help in organizing the society more and more in this struggle and to empower the people to continue this struggle with us. The main responsibility of fighting criminals is in the hands of the police. We are responsible for trying to eliminate social violence. When there is problems between neighbors, inside families, we can help in that. But fighting people who has weapons and soldiers, this is the responsibility of the state.
Aida, talk to me about your decision not to run in the next round of elections for Knesset. Do you think you would have come to this decision without the Gaza war having happened? Did the experience of the past 2 years change you and make you determine that electoral politics after such a long and distinguished career is not the way to effect change? Why did you make this decision?
First of all, yes, the last 2.5 years were very, very heavy years, and the war and the position of the people in the Knesset have affected me in a way that I feel like if I was in that situation where the state that I'm serving in its parliament is launching a war of destruction and genocide against my own people that have an effect of alienation inside me from this system. The problem is that also I didn't find real partners during the war who are willing to stand up and to say that this is not the way things should happen and those are crimes. Inside the Knesset, I'm talking. Among the people, of course, I always had partners to struggle against this war, to struggle against occupation and to do the change. And I want to go back and to work with those partners and to make it stronger. Today, when I see what my society is going through, I want to be among those who are working in the field like I did in politics that is not related to electoral politics or representative politics, but to be an activist among the people and to give from my experience in order to organize ourselves and to lead for a change. The other thing that I should say, it's very difficult to me to normalize the situation as if, okay, the war is over and now we can go back to deal with the everyday life. I cannot yet normalize because I think the war is not over, because I think that we are in a situation that we still have to focus on the main problem that all of us are still suffering from. Look what's happening in the West Bank, the ethnic cleansing, the attacks and legitimization that is done for those settlers to continue the war that started in Gaza, in the West Bank. And I feel that I cannot normalize that anymore.
Israel was founded in 1948, the Knesset in 1949. Arab citizens have been represented in the Knesset since those very first elections. Do you feel like you've reached the conclusion that parliamentary democracy is not the way that Palestinian citizens of the State of Israel will be able to attain their rights?
No, I'm still part of a party that will run in the next election, and I will work hard in order to bring very strong and politicians who are still have the energy to do the work in the parliament. But I think that it is not the only a place where we should run our struggles. And I believe that concentrating that much on the parliament has weakened the popular movement that can support the parliamentarian work and make it powerful, more powerful, has damaged that kind of movement, concentrating or focusing only on the parliamentarian work. And I want to continue to be a politician, continue to be effective, but to work on two major issues. First of all, inside my own community for the rights of my population. Second, in creating a new Jewish-Palestinian partnerships that can help dismantling the occupation, annexation.
Ida, there's a lot of talk about the revival of the joint list, the list that united the Arab parties as well as your Arab Jewish party, Hadash, that ran in elections 3 times. It boosted turnout. It sort of boosted energy among the Arab communities, and it did very well until it fractured over internal differences.
Well, first of all, in that big demonstration in Sakhnin and the meeting that came right after it, the people managed to bring a commitment from the 4 heads of parties to create the joint list, meaning a commitment from Mansour Abbas to join the joint list, because till that moment, the 3 parties, Hadash, Ta'al, and Balad, has already agreed to be part of the joint list and called for those negotiations. Only Mansour Abbas hesitated because the calculation is, I think, it's built over how you look at the joint list. We look at the joint list as a strategy of bringing together people who believe in the same political agenda, making the power for that kind of list as a way to struggle to reach our rights in a better way. I think the other side look at the joint list, and the majority of the Israeli Jewish population or Zionist parties that they call themselves center or to the left, they look at the joint list as a tool. Is needed only in order to break the balance between the right and the so-called left in the Israeli map. When they see that it's not going to be helpful to create a joint list that have 15 members and can come to any negotiation as a powerful negotiator, they ask us not to be in a joint list, or they ask Ra'am not to be in a joint list. As someone of those leaders have said, it's enough for us. We would prefer 10 members of the Arab parties rather than 15 in the joint list. So you can figure it out. We are not a tool for any victory of those people. We want really to be a powerful political entity in the Israeli political map. And yes, we want to be able to influence, to change the attitudes, and not only to get some budgets.
When you say so-called left, it hints at what you've made no secret of, and that's your disappointment with the lack of political courage by some of the so-called center-left parties and leaders like Benny Gantz.
It's not some, it's all. I've never seen people who pretend to be leaders and want to be an alternative to what? It's not a personal alternative. You are not supposed to replace personally Netanyahu. This is not the disaster. The disaster is the policy led by Netanyahu. So if you want to be alternative, be courageous enough to create a different politics, to create a different vision to how the citizens of Israel should be living and how Israel should be as a state. Till now, nobody have the courage. They are arguing about the details, not about the way.
You have a large ideological dispute with Mansour Abbas, the head of the Ram party that you were referring to when we discussed the joint list. For those who aren't familiar, can you describe the difference in philosophy between fighting for collective rights for Israeli Palestinian citizens versus fighting for individual rights, which is what you believe, I think, Abbas stands for?
Well, it is not the only difference between us. I'm a communist, I'm a feminist, I'm an internationalist. He is coming from a religious fundamental background. I believe that we, as a community that stayed in its, people who stayed, a minority that stayed in our homeland after Nakba, have created to ourselves a knowledge and understanding and a history that everything that we reached because of struggling in a united way for our rights on a personal level and on a collective level. We have rights that cannot be ignored as people who are part of the Palestinian people. We have even in the level of our citizenship. Let's start by the fact that we are not equal citizens. By the Jewish nation state law, we are not existing even. We are not mentioned. It's the state of the Jews. The American Jew have a right more than I have a right in this state. Second, our language has been reduced from an official language in the country into a special status that nobody have defined. What does it mean, a special status for a language? Now we are attacked every day if we say one word in Arabic in the Knesset, and this is going back to the public sphere where people are attacked even by police if they speak Arabic. How can I defend my individual rights, which are what? If I'm not allowed to organize myself as a minority, if I'm not allowed to speak out as a Palestinian and to say I'm Palestinian, if I'm not allowed to participate in political protest against the war only because I'm Palestinian, then what? I will have equal rights. The state had 70 years to practice that. We understand that we are discriminated against because we are Palestinians. So the solution won't be by ignoring our identity and enforcing us to be inhabitants who don't have an identity or history or heritage, except the fact that we are promised to have a kind of a minor citizenship. This is not the way. This is what I believe in. What Mansour believes in, he should explain.
Aida, I understand your reasons for not continuing in parliamentary politics, but it's sort of a shame to see you go. You've done so much good, particularly when it comes to women's issues. You've been willing to cross political lines in order to get legislation passed that has benefited women. You were the first Arab MK to chair a parliamentary committee, the Committee on the Status of Women and Gender Equality. No one seems to be in line to replace you in that role, someone who can work in cooperation, even with the right wing, to promote women's rights and safety across the country. You've been a powerful voice for Arab women in the Knesset and women all over Israel in the Knesset for a long time. You have no regrets about leaving that void?
I look at the political parties in general in Israel, and I only see men. So we are, in that side, we are very Israelis. But I have to say, I believe that I was so successful because I'm coming from a party who train us, who make us believe in an ideology that push all of our work and stand behind all of our struggles. And that party have other women and men who will be wonderful. I will be an aid for them, a help for them if they need me in any time to take from my experience. I'm willing to do it because I wasn't doing anything on personal level. I was doing it because I believe in it, because I'm part of a party that believes in this agenda. The other thing I usually remind myself that, the graveyards are full of people who thought that they cannot be replaced. I believe everyone can be replaced, for better, sometimes for not better, but you need to create the mechanism to help everyone to represent you in the best way, to represent the people in the best way. I'm confident that my comrades will choose good next case, the way they did when they chose me. When Tamar Gujansky or Tawfiq Zayad left the Knesset, we thought that's a disaster. Who's going to replace them? And here we are talking about the fact that Aida have done good things and who's going to replace her. Don't worry, there will be very good comrades to replace me.
Member of Knesset Aida Touma-Sliman, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast and giving us so much of your time.
Thank you for having me.
And that's it for this episode of the Haaretz podcast. Thanks to my guest, member of Knesset Aida Touma-Sliman, and to my producer and editor, Adi Shacham. If you want to continue to listen to the podcast and make sure you don't miss an episode, please subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And please, if you're so inclined, comment and leave us a 5-star rating so more people can find us. And to keep up with all the latest news on Israel, the Middle East, and the Jewish world, don't forget to subscribe to and follow Haaretz.com. I'm Alison Kaplan-Summer, and until next time, shalom from Tel Aviv.